Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Alda Chania Ananta. My ID number is 19018127. I will present an article entitled EFL Teacher Strategies to Accommodate Students' Learning Style in Distance Learning and Their Challenges. COVID-19 outbreak has shifted the learning and teaching process into distance learning. The situation has challenged the teachers, as the expert suggests, to include learning styles in teaching planning to help students. This study aims to examine how EFL teachers accommodate students' learning styles in distance learning to help students comprehend and acquire language, and the teacher's challenge is accommodating students' learning styles. It employed a phenomenological qualitative method using interview and observation to gain the data. The study found that EFL teachers use various online platforms, created or adjusted, and gave many assessment forms to accommodate students' learning styles in distance learning. However, it was impossible to accommodate every learning style in the classroom because of several challenges such as connections or technical problems. Teachers workload, many students in the class, and students' lack of motivation. It can be concluded that accommodating students' learning styles is more challenging in distance learning than in face-to-face classroom. The study results are useful as a reference in the issue of learning styles to evaluate the practice of accommodating students' learning styles in distance learning. COVID-19 pandemic, which started in December 2019, has shifted the teaching and learning process into distance learning, where students and teachers are not in different places. Distance learning during the pandemic intended to eradicate the COVID-19 virus spread might be challenging for both the teachers and the students. Since students learn differently, providing various teaching materials, activities, and assessment is essential. It also means giving an equal chance for every student to learn most effectively. However, accommodating students' learning styles and distance learning is not easy because what worked for one might not work for others. There are many models of learning styles proposed by the experts. Proposed that some of the categories the learning styles into 6 categories like auditory, visual, kinesthetic, tactile, group, and individual learning. Auditory students learn the best by listening to the teachers or friends' explanations. If they read, they tend to read out loud. Explain visual students rely on their sight to take the information. They also recall the information by using visuals, such as diagrams, graphs, pictures, flashcards, and maps. The method. This research employed a phenomenological qualitative method to see and explore the experience and perspectives of teachers in accommodating students' learning styles in distance learning during the COVID-19 pandemic. The qualitative approach is intended to deeply explore the experience that the teachers had in accommodating students' learning styles in distance learning settings. Participants of this research was Stat Vocational High School in Jakarta, Indonesia. The school was chosen for 2 reasons. First, the school applied full distance learning following the instruction from the government to eradicate COVID-19 virus. And second, the school gave the freedom for the teachers to design and deliver the lessons. Next, the data collection. The data were collected by semi-structured interview and observations. The interview questions covered teachers' attempt and experience in accommodating students' learning styles, while the observation focused on the learning activities conducted by the teachers before the interview. The questions were used in a pilot study to determine its appropriateness and target achievement. The pilot study showed that the questions were clear and had achieved the target intended, thus no changes were met. The questions covered the teaching practice that the teachers did to help students understand the lessons better than what challenge which teachers had in accommodating students' learning style. After interviewing the participants, the researchers conducted a free observations to provide additional evidence from the participants' information in the interview during the observations. It used field notes to highlight and represent what was going on in the setting. The interviews for the research were conducted in 2 days, on November 6 and November 10, 2020, by face-to-face interview and virtual meeting. The observations were carried out for around 2 weeks by joining various platforms for the teaching and learning process using Telegram, YouTube, and Google Forms. This research procedure was begun by contacting the school to explore permission to conduct the study after getting the consent. The researchers conducted the EFL teachers to explain the research and its aims. The schedules for interviews and observation were also set to adjust the teacher schedules. The researchers went to school and set a virtual meeting for the interview. The online observation then followed the interviews to see how teacher conducted teaching and learning, and further discover how the teacher attempt to accommodate students' learning styles. The last step was writing the transcript of the interviews to be further analyzed. The validity in this study was achieved through multiple sources of data and multiple theories to confirm emerging findings as what Dancing 1970 proposed for triangulation in quantitative research. The data analysis was done through the following steps from most texts, 1994 and Merriam, 2009. First, the interview with two teachers focusing on their experience accommodating students' learning styles was transcribed using other transcriber. Then the transcript was open code with thematic analysis to tease out the themes that answer the research questions. Second, the data from the observations was also open code to support the data from the interview. Once the data from both sources were saturated, 7 times were emerged based on the theories to answer research questions like E, using various online platforms, creating or adjusting materials, giving various types of assessment, the technical answers, teachers workload, a large number of students, and students' motivations. Then A until C were the findings that answers RQ1, while times B until G were the findings that answers RQ2. The information about each them will be explained. The quality data were descriptive and interpretive. The interview questions asked to the respondents were intended to address the research questions to discover the experience and accommodating students' learning styles in distance learning. using various online platforms. Distance learning uses various online platforms as the primary sources of teaching and learning because they allow teachers to provide various teaching materials and activities covering several types of learning style. Creating or adjusting the materials. Another attempt the participants made to accommodate students' learning styles was by creating their materials to meet students' learning styles. The participants need to create materials because of the limited availability of material on online platforms. Participants tried to create various learning materials such as PPT slides, worksheets from Google Form, and animation. However, just like using online platform, the materials created by the respondents also haven't covered all students' learning styles in the class. Their attempts were also observed during the observations. Several materials created or adjusted by the participants are often shared through Telegram and Google Classroom. Next, giving various types of assessment. The tasks given were not only paper pencil tests, but there were also other texts such as writing stories, presenting, analyzing songs, analyzing cover letters, and recording conversations. Students' lack of motivation. In a challenging situation during the pandemic, everyone must have their issues. The same situations also apply to the students. The drastic change during the pandemic might affect the students physically and mentally, affecting their motivations and distance learning. Another challenge faced by the teachers was how some students lacked motivation and had a hard time adjusting themselves to the current situation. This condition had affected performance and involvement in the class. And the last one is discussion. This phenomenological study has disclosed teachers' experience in accommodating students' learning styles in distance learning. From the findings above, the teachers believed that it was essential to be aware and be able to map students' learning styles in the class they taught. That's it from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.